Right, so today we are joined by Luke Edgar, who is one of the 10 finalists for the Do Bell Art Prize. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your story and your journey and how you've managed to get here today?
Yes. Well, thanks for having me. And so yeah, I've kind of been around this forever, and all I've ever done is art. Growing up, my dad's an artist, was an architect, and is now kind of full time painting.
Hmm.
So it was literally all of my toys was art equipment. as
Yeah.
as a kid. So that's all I know. Um, but then, as of late, it's kind of working on large scale steel pieces and working thin layers of oil paint and then tattooing through the surface. So it's almost like the opposite of an actual tattoo.
Tattoo.
Um,
I mean, what made you decide to use steel? Because I mean, you've got canvases,
yeah,
um, but what inspired you and what drew you to steel? So when we say steel, we mean steel.
it's a few things. It's been like a long thing of me directing that way, really. But I used to do a lot of dry point printing and dry point etching, where I'd scratch into a surface,
Yeah,
cover it in ink and then run it for a printing press, and then you get the piece of paper on the other side. But
yeah,
I always preferred the actual, the original scratching more because it's like an original piece.
of
And then,
course.
and then as I didn't have access to that, it was like, what things can I scratch? It started off with like little Coke cans, Diet Coke
Oh,
cans that
serious?
were
Okay.
black. So I would do like a scene going around the whole thing. Then it was kind of like metal filing cases and things like that, and then it grew. But I like that there's an immediacy of like because I tattoo as well,
Hmm.
and with that there's an immediacy of like if I put this ink in you, it's there for the rest of your life, and
Yeah.
um, I can't just keep working into it and it's gone. It's there. So the same thing with this is when I add layers of paint, sometimes I can tattoo through. So if I've got like blue, red, yellow, black, then as I hit it, I can hit the different layers, if you know
Oh
what I mean, as
wow.
I'm tattooing. But then eventually I'm going to hit metal.
Yeah.
So there's an end point, which I like. It kind of keeps the hand tight then as well.
Of
So
course. So it's like you can stop where you want to stop revealing the
yeah,
layers. So let's
yeah,
say, like you said, if you've got a red layer, a blue layer, and then the steel, you
yeah,
can stop at the red layer or stop at the blue
yeah,
layer,
exactly. And
depending.
but I like that it's a tiny slip and then I've hit steel,
Yeah.
and then it's very
Wow.
hard to gain that back because it's all them layers back. That bit's still now. I have to work with it.
We have to work with it.
So I quite like that it's a bit of a razor's edge.
So
You
how
know,
how much pressure do you use when you're actually using the tattoo gun?
I'm like literally just touching it.
Serious.
Yeah, I
Wow.
mean it depends because I use lots of different tools as well. Like I use like electric sanders, I use grinders,
Hmm.
anything to remove paint really. But I just want to constantly experiment, and this has been an interesting medium to work in. It sort of feels like there isn't a textbook of how to do this,
No.
so it's kind of like very much trial and error.
Yeah.
But then you get interesting results through that. You
100%.
know.
And that's why I like the work from the back because it shows the different sort of styles that you can finish. And I also learned that you don't use white.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
this, yeah,
Yeah, so any of the lights are the actual steel coming through. So yeah, I literally just use the primary colours, red, blue, and yellow, and black,
hmm,
basically. And because I like that, then it's like from different angles you're hitting it and under different lights.
yeah,
Yeah, the lights actually shine then. But yeah, as I said, and it's nice to each piece have a different working mode. So each one of these paintings have had like a completely different process.
hmm,
So I worked on all of them at once, and they each one had their own challenges. But then I'd work something out on that, and then it'd help me with that one.
with the
And
other
why am I
piece.
struggling with this one? Okay, I've learned it on that one, and kind of done it that way.
Of course, of course. So talk us through your tattooing journey. So what drew you to that? Because it obviously has an influence in your work
Mm.
today. But what initially drew you to that?
There was never really like a separation with them for me. Like I would just draw on everything.
Mhm.
Like if it's a person, if you sit in front of me long enough, I'm probably going to draw on you. Like anything that's there, I'll draw on it. So it's kind of that thing. And then tattooing almost didn't even seem real to me early on because it was like it seemed too good to be true. Almost I could literally put a painting on you and then you live
Yes.
with it for the rest of your life. but it still blows my mind, you know, that there's people walking around and that they trust you with that. Um, so yeah, they was just as early as each other, really. Like I was, as soon as I was drawing on anything, I was drawing on people, you know.
Original people.
And it's funny because my daughter does the same now. She's
Yeah.
2, and like tattoo was one of her first words,
Oh
which is kind of
wow.
nuts. And she
That's
draws, like, I've got some on me there where she'll just draw over everyone, you
crazy.
know. So it's kind of like there isn't a separation of it. Um, but
100%.
tattooing a person is kind of almost like that's game day, and it's very important, you know. And it's I have to make it of the person, if that makes sense. Like it's not a faceless person. It's I want to try and capture you in it. So I meet people quite a lot of times
Before you even tattoo
before
them.
I even tattoo them. Where this stuff is all me. You
Yeah.
know, it's different.
So which one do you prefer? Which one do you prefer?
I honestly both, but you know, without this, I think I would just lose my marbles. But it's kind of, as I said, like sketching for me is like the constant because I
Yeah.
can do it literally everywhere. So I sketch constantly, and then
I mean,
this
you were
is
sketching earlier today.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And then you know, the nice thing with this is I can work on this for as long as I want and at
Yeah.
any time I want, and it's completely free reign, you know. And I can keep the needle in for like 10 hours.
Yeah.
Where with a person, they're going to be all over the bloody place.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
there's a difference, but
They've got a
yeah,
pain threshold, I
yeah,
think.
exactly. But there's definitely a need to do both for me.
Okay.
You know,
Next question would be then where does your inspiration come from? Because I mean we've got different styles of pieces in the gallery,
yeah,
but where does your inspiration initially come from?
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's almost more like a bit of like a pattern recognition thing. I think in regular life, you know, it's like so like the window there that I just drew. It's like
Yeah,
to me, it was immediately an eye when I came in, you know. So it was like, but then if I've seen multiple things that day, I try to not like consciously think of the idea. Well, I don't consciously think of the ideas, you know, of like I'm going to draw this and this.
hmm,
It's sort of like I just draw it. I just draw, and then it does it by itself. I try and almost take my brain somewhere else in a way. Like a lot of the time when I work, I listen to like audiobooks,
oh
and I
wow,
think that it takes the analytical part is keeping it busy
yes,
sometimes,
okay,
you know. Like there's certain bits where I can't listen to anything, like if I'm working like a technical aspect, like literally the geometry of something,
hmm,
you know, like for some of these pieces, like okay, I
like
need
the
to
one in the
make sure
corner
that
there.
yeah, exactly, like I need to make sure everything's actually marked out, and you're almost being like a craftsman in that moment. So it's like nothing or kind of uh, you know, instrumental music or something like that. But then when I'm actually working on it, it's kind of yeah, I don't want the analytical part there at all if I can
So
help it.
would you say you sort of just want it to be sort of like a free flow of energy, just for it to
Yeah,
just come out?
yeah, and I try and sketch like that a lot as well, and then it tends to um, like I realise I'll keep doing the same drawings, and then it's like, oh, well, where did that come from, you know? And then it's that needs to become a painting, then you know,
Yeah,
stuff like that. So the paintings are definitely more. I don't know if you use the word like organised,
yeah,
maybe like it's kind of they're thought about in. I'm not just throwing paint around, you know, but the sketches are more like that, and then they
yeah.
come out of that, but they will develop differently.
Perfect. So the one that we're currently looking at the moment,
Yeah.
there is one that's similar, but this one is different to the other ones. What was the process of making something like this?
So this was working with rust, and I would, you know, like soak the steel, pull it out, drip paint, throw paint, soak it again, and over about a month, I think 4 to 5 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
that I worked across this, and then it's then like lacquering over the top to seal everything in, so then it can't keep rusting. But I quite like leaving some things out of my control, you know,
Yeah,
like so the way that it rusts is it's doing it by itself. Like sometimes I think if you trying to make a texture is it looks fake, you know, like I mean some things I almost want to look fake,
yeah,
you know, like kind of like this cube guy. I almost wanted him to feel artificial,
yeah.
you know, and to feel fake. Where other pieces, it's like I let them do their own thing, you know. But
100%. I mean, compared to like modern day architecture, like nature's quite chaotic. It's ordered chaos, but
yeah,
then with that, it's very I'll say humanized, where it's like
Yeah,
we try to control
yeah,
everything, and it's like those rigid
definitely.
edges.
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea of it. So it's cool to see them in the same room together because it is kind of opposites. But even this, then it still has a bit of structure
Yeah,
within the center of it and stuff. You know, it is like that
it's got
human
the
control
focal.
bit.
Yeah, it's got the
Yeah,
focal point
yeah,
that
exactly.
draws you to it, and then it's like the other pieces add to it.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Going back to your daughter, she did help you with some of these pieces, didn't
Yes.
she?
Yeah. Definitely. And it's she's in the studio a lot with me, and
Mm.
it's interesting to see kind of how she like it's almost like having another hand because I use my left hand. I'm you know right-handed,
Mm.
but I use my left hand for to try and get looser bits because my right hand's too tight sometimes. You know, because I use it constantly. But then the left hand I can't use it too much. That's almost like a treat because it gets tight quick as well.
Okay,
You
yeah,
know. But then having her is like, okay, that's like another hand where she can make movements and stuff that I can't make,
yeah,
you know. So it's yeah, I think I used to be very precious with it in a way, and I still am, but it's kind of I don't know. I used to find working on anything really frustrating all of the time because I think like what I had in my head I couldn't produce yet, but then it's you know you want them loose bits now with
yeah.
her, so she's helped me
Of
with
course,
a lot of them actually.
100%.
Um,
And I like the blend of the two, of like your style and then like her influence
yeah,
on your
definitely.
work as well. Like it's good to see.
And as she
Like,
gets older, I'm sure that things will change, and you know, maybe she'll get too good, and then you're like, oh, you can't be in it anymore, you know. So we'll see,
100%,
we'll see.
100%, perfect. One of the last questions would be sort of how would you describe your style of work?
It's tough to kind of probably like just experimental. I feel like I'm just constantly trying to find a new thing. Like I'm not even trying to find a new thing. It's just change a variable, change a variable. Like a lot of it is like the what is it, the scientific method, you know, of
Hmm.
I almost think of it in that thing of almost like lab rats
Yeah,
and just what happens if I just constantly change a variable on edit on everything, you know, and that's infinite. You know, I'm not going to be alive long enough to change the variables of
of
everything.
everything.
So it's kind of yeah, it's sort of endless. That's what interests me, really. You know.
In terms of just experimenting, seeing how far, because I feel like with your work especially, it's pushing boundaries of um, not only what you can call art, but what you can make art on. Because
Yeah,
it's like a normal artist would be like, yeah, I'm just going to paint on a canvas.
yeah,
But the fact that you're using traditional oil painting techniques on steel and then using a tattoo gun, like that to me is something that I've not come across,
yeah.
and that's something to me that is very special. And I'm like,
Thank
that
you.
you're pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, it's kind. I don't know if there's something of that doesn't interest me of going in and buying like the equipment for the thing you're doing. If you know what I mean, I like to do it of making a thing like it shouldn't be that.
Yeah,
You know, that interests me. I don't know if it's just I don't know. That's always interested me though. Like I'm really bad at putting something together. Let's say like IKEA. I'm really bad at
yeah,
putting something together where there's like only one way of doing it.
yeah.
You know, it just my brain just doesn't like it. You know, so but when there's like okay, there's multiple ways to reach a point.
Mhm.
That's the interesting bit to me. You know, but yeah,
Perfect. The last question, and I think it's probably one of the most important ones, is which one is your favorite piece?
it's tough, is it? This in
It's
this
tough.
exhibition or ever?
I'll say let's do it in this exhibition, and then we'll do ever.
Yeah. Um, it is difficult because like this latest series is kind of like one painting
Yeah,
to me. Um, but yeah, it's tough. It is tough. Probably this series. As I said,
yeah,
I feel like it's just I can't really say one because it's like one song in an album or something. To me, I like listen to albums rather than
yes,
a single song.
a single song.
So it's kind of like probably this series, I think. Um, but that's probably because it's my latest one.
I mean,
So
how
it's sort of
what was the process for this series? Just briefly.
so this one was made specifically for this exhibition. I spent about 2 months working on 2 to 3 months, something like that, working on it, and it just changed constantly throughout it. But yeah, this was another one that I'd made, and I felt like it was organic as I was making it. And then once I'd nearly completed it, I found in an old sketchbook that I'd already drawn them all, like 3 years ago,
Wow.
and I was like, that's pretty creepy. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably my favourite in this. But then my favourite ever, I think, is I done a portrait of my daughter when she was first born and of my wife, and then I've now just got the medal today for the new baby that we've
Oh,
got. So they're life size, and the plan is to do one every 5 years throughout their life of them as they grow. So it's kind of um, I feel like you only see portraiture like in like royalty or something like that from
mhm,
birth to throughout someone's life. So it'd be interesting to see a person grow.
100%. And what I like about those works specifically is the way that you made them look 3D. Like that is genuinely amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I wanted them to almost be like not an actual person in a weird way, but almost like a clone of them. So it's because there is this other. I think it's because like I done one of my daughter while she was sort of on my lap for the most of it. So I'm like, there is two of you in the room, so I can't say
Yeah.
that's you. It's like right, I've made another version of you.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if it's my partner's a identical twin, so I don't know if there's part of that as well that I find kind of interesting. It's like there's two of you,
Yeah.
we've got a spare.
You've got a spare.
But yeah, I find that interesting.
I think it's quite cool. You're immortalizing them in steel. Like I think that's really
Yeah,
cool. That's really cool. So yeah, the last question will be, what are we to expect from you in the future? Like, have you got anything that you're currently working on?
yeah. Well, so now I've have a completely empty studio, so
Yeah.
it feels odd to walk in but refreshing as well. It was needed to go like it's done now,
Mhm.
to the point where you can't walk and then start again. So I think like I definitely want to go like down a more sculptural route,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting because I still like a two-dimensional piece. I still want it to be like a piece like this, but it's almost like aspects of it are coming out. So I've been experimenting with copper
Yeah.
and heating and using different tools to push the metal forward and push it back. So that's possibly the next bunch of work, but we'll see. Yeah,
Perfect. Well, Luke, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
thank you very
Have
much.
you got any words that you want to say to the audience?
Just thanks for having everything here. It's been brilliant to exhibit with Red 8 and do everything with Dubell Prize, and it's nice to be able to work towards something as well. So it's
Hmm.
been a different approach this time, but yeah, it's been brilliant. Thank you very
Amazing.
much.
Well, thank you for the beautiful work for the gallery. I enjoy coming in and seeing
Perfect.
these. So, and thank you for coming in today as well.
Good.
And yeah, if you haven't had a chance, you guys should come down to the gallery. It's going to be up for probably another 4 to 6 weeks. We'll put the date on the video, but yeah, thank you guys.